So here's a quote from one of the articles I've written. I probably have over 100 on Medium if you feel like exploring. I have a little publication there called Not Another Diet. And the quote is this: tracking calories is a diet culture answer to deal with the effects of food processing. It's an artificial boundary designed to make you eat less temporarily. This practice leads people to believe there's something wrong with their hunger or bodies as the weight returns, or they can't deal with the restrictions anymore. We, what we don't understand about calorie counting or apps or colors or points or spreadsheets. By the way, that's a true story. One woman told me that she joined a program and had to put all her food into a spreadsheet, which I think, you can just kill me now. Like, there's no way I'm going to ever do that. That sounds horrible. But there's an analogy I want to give you that I think is more appropriate for what you're actually doing when you're putting your food into a device. It's just a device, okay? And in fact, the whole practice of putting your food is just a device. You can think of the whole way of doing that is a device to suppress your eating, okay? Because if you're spending your time, if you have an allotment and you're registering, you will eat less for a little while. That will happen. How long you can maintain it has to do with you. I could never do it. I just couldn't do it. I'm a person who eats a lot, and I like the process of just feeding myself when I'm hungry. I think that's a really great thing to do. I don't know how else to describe it, but like, I love it. I like to eat, and I like to eat when I'm hungry, and I don't want to be disconnected from that. But there's a wonderful analogy that's a pot lid analogy that I like to use. So if you have a pot, a boiling, and the flame is on high, and it's boiling on the inside. What you can do to suppress the boiling for a little while is put a heavy lid on it. If you've got one of those Le Creuset or whatever, you just put that lid on it and the steam stops coming out. But as you well know, the flame is still going. The flame underneath, in this particular case, represents what's driving your eating. And this is a great analogy for how actually people end up getting derailed on these diets, because the flame is still going, and eventually the boiling comes through and the lid starts clattering and comes off, right? And that's you going like, I cannot put another thing into this plan. And this is really how diets function, and the main reason that people end up going off of them. I mean, there's so many others. It's really hard to say everything in one podcast, but if you take away anything, it's that you have not really dealt with what's driving the eating. And by the way, it's not a personal deficiency. It's not that at all. It's most likely a combination of sugar, processed foods, and misunderstanding the triggers in your environment, if you can boil it down to those things. But the last thing I'll tell you is that when you put your food into an app or a calorie count or whatever, you're disassociating from yourself. You're not listening to your internal mechanisms, which are crucial for not only healing yourself, but trusting yourself and enjoying your food and enjoying the right amount of food to produce a healthy weight. These are not pie in the sky aspirations. So if you're like my members and what you have said to yourself is, I really want to eat naturally and have that produce a healthy weight and eat in tune with my hunger, guess what? That's not a pie in the sky aspiration. That is your internal wisdom rising up and talking to you. So join me for part 2, where we are going to talk about the real world effects, like what actually happens to you when you embark on the process of a counting calorie diet.